first of all, we can't start talking about the cast without speaking about Jim Carrey and his performance in this.
Yeah.
I love him in this.
Yeah.
So good.
So much. He feels so deeply sad.
Yeah.
Like he's not performing that sadness. Like it feels very in him.
Yeah, it does. So do you think that was, like you mentioned before, he didn't enjoy acting in this role? Is that because he was actually sad, or?
Well, he's been very vocal in interviews and he's enjoyed this experience. He's just been really honest with with some of the elements of working with Michel that he struggled with. Part of it was that they were filming in the cold and he was doing like 17-hour days and everything was really technical in parts and took a really long time to film. Like, you know, the scene in the where they're in the sink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's basically like a massive hot tub that they're actually in, and then the arms of the mum washing them in the sink is like a puppet, like a real puppet. And they were in there for so long that Kate Winslet fainted.
No.
Oh my God.
And there's behind the scenes video of it and he's like kicking off about Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait, who's kicking off? Jim
Carrey's kicking off at the director.
Yeah,
because,
like the conditions are just
the
not.
conditions were not right.
That is bad. Whoa.
It is
Well, yeah,
bad.
fair enough to then out the director for that. Or out the team. I guess it's not just the director's job, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And that's good to know, kind of thing, that he can be vocal about that and like we can all be aware of it, because it doesn't change my view of the film. I still love it. And I'm like, put the actors to work. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I don't know. There are this is like a real moral quandary that I have about a lot of art, is that some of my favorite things, they have stories like this, like in the making of, and you know, lots of musicians that I love have like horrible worldviews or like whatever. Like I think it's something that I'm just like always gonna run into, and it feels like so many things that I love have a little bit of a sour backstory to them. But I'm going to go ahead and say it was a different time and they're all fine now.
It's a real, it's for me as well, because I work with so many directors that I feel are creatively so exciting and interesting. And sometimes the way that they want to audition talent, for me, I'm like, we can't do that.
Right. And this is how I feel when I've worked with directors who are really intense and do things again and again and again, and they're very cold and they don't praise you and they don't, I mean, it depends on what the role is, but like, I love it. I love what it does. Yeah. Yeah. Like I hear the Shelley Duvall of it all and I'm like, I just like kind of love that, like that idea of being worked with by a director like that. Like, listen, that doesn't mean that it's right. That doesn't mean that Shelley Duvall wanted that. Like, but like, that's kind of something. I love when fiction and reality start to slightly blur when I'm making something.
Yeah, I agree with you. But as well, for me, like, it's difficult. I would never be, I am the gatekeeper and like the protector of the actors.
You have to.
So it's really interesting to hear that you think like that. And I actually think a lot of the times the actors that I work with might feel the same way to like being pushed. But
it's
there's
when
a
things
duty
go
of care.
wrong and that hasn't been like, protected from the get-go, then it becomes very, very complicated. And, I've never been in that situation. But if I was, I know that having said this on this podcast, it's a complicated part of making art, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting because working with you as a producer, you were always so pro, obviously, like pro actors and looking after actors. And so I don't know, I just kind of wonder how that sits with you when it's you being the producer in that situation. Like, do you still think, well, you want to work the actors hard? Because I feel like you don't, you really, really want to make sure that the actors are like, okay, which is good.
Yeah,
but it's funny that you don't think you don't worry about that for yourself.
Yeah, that is interesting. I feel, is this example of the short film that we did, or just anything?
And just like throughout, you've always been like, with any of our projects, you're like, and we need to make sure that we're doing this for the actors as well.
Yeah. I guess it's because I feel like I feel like in this, it sounds like it's a combination of things. There's the way that Jim was working with Michel, and then there's also the hours that Jim was working. And I feel like I can work really intensely with a director and we can do a billion takes, but as long as my hours are being met and I get to have an hour of lunch and I get to have a full night's sleep. And if you're not having both of those things, then that's when it can get really, really complicated.
Yeah.
But it's like from action to cut, like I'm very...
When you're actually doing the job.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's so actor dependent and director dependent because I feel like, everyone's got to choose what they want there.
Yeah.
But what I love about being a producer is being able to tell when an actor is like, these are the things that are outlined, but actually this is what I want. And I love knowing an actor well enough and feeling like they can talk to me enough that we can change things to meet like whatever they want.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to have that trust that you're not going to break their turnaround and like all of those things that happen so frequently. Start off being like overprotective and then you can start to let the fluidity in as the performances are growing.
Yeah, totally. Well, another thing that Michel Gondry did with Jim Carrey, and I've not heard that he said that he didn't like this, but I can imagine maybe this was part of it as well, was that, so Jim Carrey's known for doing a lot of improvisation, comedy actor, and all of the actors were allowed to improv, and he was not. And Michel Gondry would like speak to him and Kate Winslet separately and say to Kate Winslet, this scene is light, it's comedic in some ways. And then he'd say to Joel, to Jim Carrey, Joel, that this is really dramatic and he's really upset in this moment, so that he never brought his performance up to Jim Carrey usual levels that we see him.
Wow, that must have been so frustrating for Jim Carrey. But maybe that, well, obviously
that's what he needed, though.
Seems like
obviously,
that's what made it work.
Yeah, because that's like when a relationship starts to crumble is when you stop hearing each other and how you mean things, and everything starts to just get disjointed, and you replay conversations and hear it from a completely new perspective, and you just like you can't meet on the same page. And the joy of being an actor is like feeling the energy and the pace of like everyone you're working with and building a scene together. But when that's disjointed, it can feel like hell actually to act in that way. But for this film, like, though, that's the beauty of the scenes, is that you're watching two people on two completely different pages and it's like perfect.
Yeah.
But it's a shame the process of that. I mean, I wonder if Michel had just like Jim Carrey's a seasoned, incredible actor. If he had explained that more and said, like, I'm gonna be feeding you different lines and, you know, guidance here because I'm loving that it's making you both just not gel on camera. And Jim could have got behind that.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
If it is, so this is from my research, if that is the way that it was done and he was, it's very exclusionary to trust your other actors to do what you want them to do and not trust
it's
the
actually,
other.
it's not very nice. It kind of keeps him like, oh, he's a bit silly, he doesn't really get it.
Yeah.
And he does. He's obviously an incredible actor.
Choices.
So yeah, it feels like maybe it wasn't gone about in the right way, and that actually I think you should trust your actor to, like, yes, using those techniques, feeding them different pieces of information is really, really useful, but don't like act like they're stupid.
Yeah. That's one of my big qualms. I feel like, I mean, I think this is different for all actors, but when a shot's not working and you see like the producer, the cinematographer, the director and the first all like huddled around the monitor, like discussing, I'm like, could you speak up a bit? Because I'm pretty sure I can help you out here if something's not working. But they always want to work around the actor, which is fine. Because some actors, I'm sure if you said, can you stand here and deliver your line instead of here, they'd like freak out and be like, that's your job to figure that out or whatever. But like, I don't know, that's maybe a thing of the past. But I just feel like, just tell me what we're doing and I will do it.
I'm part of this equation with you.
Yeah.
You don't have to like, I don't have to be blinkered over here, like in my process. Like I can do all of that, but also like we're trying to make a movie together.
Yeah.
So I just feel like different directors I work with, depending on if they're like new school, old school, have really different approaches to the details they'll disclose to actors. And it can sometimes feel like you're just a baby and nothing's working and they're just going, everything's great. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure everything's
But why are we
not
on like the 100th take?
Yeah, but it's just, and then I'm sure there's some actors that just wait until someone says for them to do something and they're not even, you know, I don't know actually. I'm just kind of spitballing in my mind.
Yeah, from your own experience as well. That's all we can do here, girls.
Yeah,
that's all we can do.
Exactly.
And also, like we don't know for sure how much and how little Jim Carrey knew. And this is like what I found online. But theorizing over the theory, you know, this is not the right thing to do in my mind.
Didn't work.
Didn't
for him.
For the actor, worked for the film apparently because the performances are amazing.
Yeah.